What is up, everybody? My name is T-Quay, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I got the start of yet another new series, but I guarantee you I'm actually going to continue to work on this one. It might just take a little bit of time, because I'm going to put a bit more effort into making this series, how should I put it, complete and ready to actually help you guys. But essentially, there is one combo in the game that, well, let me rephrase that. There are many especially in the state of the game as it is right now, there are many combos that work at Town Hall 13. But one of those combos has always been looked at differently in terms of people look at it in awe and be like, damn, that's cool, but that's hard as shit. How do I do it? And this combo has been in place since its introduction 4 Town Hall levels and 5 or 6 years ago, maybe even 7 at this point. But today, over the course of the next couple of weeks / months, I'm going to attempt to teach you how to take out this how to use this combo, and that is how to T-Quay Lalo. So basically, there is going to be a multi-part series that is never going to truly conclude. This part is being recorded in the end of January 2021, and to look at where we are now, the December update happened in December, obviously. And a couple weeks ago, the Super Wizards got nerfed, and that was really the only change. But that's where we are now, and there's gonna be like 5 or 6 parts at least. The first part today, I'll explain in a minute. The second and third parts are gonna be the most important. The second, I'm gonna teach you how to T-Quay and what to T-Quay, and then how to do it efficiently, like I do. And then in the third video, I'm gonna teach you how to Lalo, use your spells, use your siege, get deployment right, all that stuff. Then in the fourth, I'm going to teach you how to use zaps. The fifth, I'm going to teach you how to use the blizzard, assuming it's still in the game by the time I get to that point. And then the sixth is going to be little like pro tricks, stuff like that. And then if a significant balance change or another new addition to Lalo comes in after that, then it's also going to be part in a future episode. Also, when Town Hall 14 or other additions to Lalo come out, I'm going to update this guide for there. Excuse me. Most of the hits that will be today will focus on Town Hall 13, but the same fundamentals work at Town Hall 11, Town Hall 12, and even Town Hall 10 and 9 to an extent as well. So I'm hoping that really anybody who is at a somewhat high Town Hall level in the game and is interested in learning how to Lalo, I'm hoping that they will be able to use my guide to help work on their techniques and help make them a better attacker. So with that being said, let's get into today's video. First of all, you could probably notice by now, but there's a bunch of attacks in the background. These are uncommentated. I'm just recording this on my own. The attacks are just there. They'll all be Lalo attacks of various styles, just to kind of like help you watch as you listen to today's part, which is the history of Lalo. Now, this probably isn't, if the purpose of this video is, one, to be entertaining, and well, I hope it is. If you're a nerd or you like my voice, then it will be entertaining. But basically, it's gonna show you how the combo developed and the little changes and additions that were made to get it to where it is today. I have no idea how long this will be. I'm expecting probably in the realm of 15 to 20 minutes. So get some coffee, beer, tea, whatever the hell you drink. Sit in your chair and let's get in. So let's start to go back to the very beginning of Lalo, which was, I believe this is in the middle of 2015. I was at Town Hall 8 at this time, and they had just done the big balancing nerf where they changed the heroes in the sense where you could not lure the enemy Barbarian King and Archer Queen out like a clan castle and kill them anymore. They now have a radius, and they will not leave that radius normally. That pretty much changed the trajectory of the game as it was drastically. Town Hall 10 was the highest level at this point, but it was nearly impossible to 3-star Town Hall 10 for a reason I'm going to get into in a bit. Town Hall 9, there was only one troop that was able to 3-star essentially, and that was the Hog Rider. People would do this thing called the Go-Ho, or a Kill Squad Hog, where they would use your heroes and some funneling troops and a tank to go in and kill the enemy Archer Queen, because she would kill hogs without any way to kill her, which there weren't many methods back in the day. So you'd kill the Archer Queen, kill Clan Castle, and then kill the base with hogs. It was difficult, but it was the only way to 3-star. The balloons, on the other hand, had lots of power, but they could not hold up against air defenses because they're slow as hell and they're really fragile. So, enter the Lava Hound. The Lava Hound is an air tank that has more health than a golem, and it targets air defenses, meaning that it locks onto the most destructive defense in the game immediately, for balloons that is, at the time. Obviously things have changed a lot since then, providing coverage for the balloons to move in and take out the other defenses. There were two ways of doing Lavaloon at the time. There was the Go Laloon, which essentially is the same as the Go Ho, but you use a Lavaloon on the back end instead of hogs. And then there's the Spam Lavaloon, which is what most people use. You just kill the clan castle and then just spam. Sometimes it would work, but not always. The biggest objective to the Lavaloon at the time were A, the enemy Archer Queen, and B, the defending clan castle, which was very similar to hogs. So when you're using your kill squad to take out the enemy stuff, you would always want to target those two things. Now, I have to admit, I will say this: the pieces to do a queen walk were in place, but the technique had not been developed yet. No one knew what a queen walk was, but the pieces were in place to use it. And I'm also going to mention this video is not going to cover queen walks. It's just going to cover the variations where you do not use healers, you just use your heroes or a kill squad. That's the focus of this video. But yeah, Go Lavaloon was added, and it was difficult, and you to be surgical with your balloons had to have good pathing, good deployment, and good spell usage, because at the time there was not such a thing as dark spells. The only spells available at the time for Town 09 were the lightning spell, which was a lot different back then, the rage spell, the heal spell, and the jump spell. Typically people would use the jump spell to help move through the base with your kill squad. 2 rages, I think both for the Lavaloon, maybe one for the kill squad, and then a lightning spell to kill the enemy clan castle. But after a while, that changed with the addition of a dark spell factory. That added 3 spells: the poison spell, the earthquake, and the haste spell at the time. And then it also rebalanced the way that spells capacity worked. The freeze spell and the lightning spell, all the elixir spells were still 2 spell space, but the dark spells were 1 spell space, meaning that you would get 9 spell space total. 4 elixir spells and 1 dark elixir spell, or you could just break it down. Basically, a dark elixir spell is half as much as a regular elixir spell. This was big because this change had an effect on every attack. The poison spell was very good at killing small clan castle troops, which meant that you no longer had to bring the lightning spell to take them out, making it a much cheaper and much more efficient alternative. But, more importantly, this added the haste spell to the game. The thing about the balloons is they're slow as hell, but they do a crap ton of damage. The haste spell, it drastically increases the movement speed of whatever troop is within its radius, but it does not increase their damage. It was perfect for balloons, and to this day it still is. Balloons are the only troop that use the haste spell, but it's like a match made in heaven, essentially. So yeah, Town 09 is now beginning to get a little easier. People are beginning to queen walk, and you get the Go Ho and the Go Lavaloon people working at it. At this point, Go Lavaloon was definitely harder than Go Ho, but it wasn't as difficult as modern Sui Lalo, because it wasn't as Lavaloon based as the modern attacks are, and the Lavaloon part is definitely harder to execute than just a standard kill squad. And now I should mention why that Town 10 is not really going to get mentioned that much in this video, and that's because it was nearly impossible to 3-star Town 10, because back in the day, if you got hit by an Inferno Tower beam, you could not heal through it, which means that hogs were useless at Town 10. Queen walks, useless. The only attack that could 3-star was Go Lavaloon, which was still extremely difficult at Town 10, because you get the same level of balloons at Town 09 and Town 10. Level 6 balloons is a max at both Town Hall levels. They're great at killing 9s, but 10s they're difficult at killing. That has changed in the future, but at the time Town 10 was tough. Also, the other big reason Town Hall 10 was tough was that there were not siege machines. Siege machines, which got added years later, which I will touch upon when I get to that part of my timeline, drastically changed the way attacks worked. But now for the next big addition in my timeline, Town Hall 11 comes out, and the Grand Warden is also a thing. Town Hall 11 was like Town Hall 10, but even harder at first. The only combos that worked initially were extremely lucky Go Lava Loons, and then just spam Bow Witch. But a couple months into the Town Hall 11 cycle, a new dark troop called the Bowler was released. The Bowler, it throws a rock that skips onto two defenses in its, or up to two buildings in its line, and it does a lot of damage, especially under rage. But it was it was not really used a lot at first. So what Supercell did was they gave it an attack speed buff where when the bowler reached the target it was going to attack, its first strike would come immediately. There wouldn't be like a wind-up period, which made the bowler very efficient for dealing lots of damage. And this was the beginning of the forming of the second age kill squad. Town Hall 9s would bring bowlers in their clan castles, and then rage and heal them at the right time to take out big portions of the base, minimizing the amount of lava loon that was required. This is what I call one of the early ages of lava loon, because a lot of players began to start doing this. They noticed that lava loon was more consistent than hogs, because hogs just struggled with less spells to support them, but balloons, they only needed 3 haste spells and they were good. So, what's next? Oh yeah, the other major addition for Town Hall 9 at the time was the addition of this defense called the Air Sweeper. The Air Sweeper was not a thing when Lava Loon was first being pioneered, but it got added, I want to say in early 2016, but don't quote me on that. And what it does is it just pushes a big gust of air back, and it, depending on, I think, the speed of a troop, it affects different air troops at different rates. But since balloons are the slowest troop in the game, they get pushed back the most out of every air troop. So now players have to start being careful because they see the air sweeper and they're like, okay, I cannot lava loon straight into this. I got to go from behind it. Eventually, a second air sweeper got added too, but which made it even more difficult. But again, not impossible. So here is one of the first big changes other than the addition of a Lava Hound, and that was the balloon buff during Town Hall 11. This was in, I think, winter at some point, because I remember I took like a month away from the game, and I came back and balloons were suddenly killing everything. They made the balloons essentially work similar to the bowler, with the first strike coming immediately, which was huge because now you could just haste them into a defense and they'd kill it basically instantly. And also, they added a new level 7 balloons to Town Hall 11, which made Lava Loon attacks at that Town Hall start to become viable. The only Lava Loon attacks then, other than Queen Walks, which were still being formed and because of the Infernos were really, really difficult to do, was what is known as the Bow Lalo, which is a Kill Squad Lalo where they use the bowlers and their heroes to take out a lot of the base, and then the new level 4 Lava Hounds with level 7 balloons would just fly through the rest of the base. One of the additions that was used, or new additions that was also used with this comp, was the new clone spell. Added unlockable at Town Hall 10, it was 4 spell space, and it just basically cloned a bunch of balloons. However, it was minimally used because of how expensive it was, and to this day is still not really a mainstream option, despite it being changed to 3 spell space instead of 4. I would like to see the clone spell become good, but that's another topic. The last main change that came during the Town Hall 11 timeline was the 4th dark spell, which is a skeleton spell. Prior to this point, using your heroes and bowlers was the only way to consistently kill an enemy Archer Queen. But the skeleton spell changed things because you could drop a couple skeleton spells in a rage, and you could kill enemy Archer Queens with them while you were doing the Lava Loon. This was huge because it allowed for much more flexibility when planning your attacks, and this is what began to form what we now know as Sui Lalo, which is different than Kill Squad Lalo, in that you aren't using much more in your heroes to get value, which really with value, you're just getting either you're forming pathing, and you're getting a somewhat high value target, and often killing the clan castle. Those three fundamentals, well, to the first two at least, still hold true to today's modern Sui Lalo attacks. It's about getting decent value and funneling. And now I need some water. God bless water. There's a reason half my accounts are named after it. Now, anyway, during this time, one of the biggest changes to the metagame as a whole, not just with Lava Loon, but with everything happened, and that was the Inferno Tower nerf. Now, you could heal through Inferno Towers. This was huge because you could now start using Hogs again because they need heals. You could Queen Walk through Inferno Towers, and also people began to start using heals through a multi-Inferno Tower because they're much more efficient than free spells, which, keep in mind, are still 2 spell space, because they can heal through an Inferno, and you can gain health while still taking damage from this. It's much more efficient. Which this made 3 stars at Town Hall 10 much more feasible. We're nearing the end of a Town Hall 11 life cycle, and it's still extremely difficult to 3-star Town Hall 11 at this point. But Town Hall 10 triples start becoming somewhat common, and Town Hall 11 triples begin to happen more than once in a blue moon. Now we get to probably the biggest change in the game, period, since I've started playing, and that is Town Hall 12 with the addition of the Siege Machine. Prior to this, your clan castle was just like a group of troops you would deploy at once with your others. Now they had added 2 new Siege Machines to the game, along with the new Town Hall level, all of which I will cover. Basically, the first Siege Machines that were added were the Wall Wrecker and the Battle Blimp. Both Siege Machines go in a straight line from wherever they're deployed, straight to a Town Hall. Wall Wrecker busts through walls, Town Hall just flies. And, excuse me. This made kill squads a lot easier at the time, because now you could use your Wall Wrecker to get your... By the way, Siege Machines were able to be donated at Town Hall 10 and 11 as well. This made Town Hall 10 easier than Town Hall 9 was before, and Town Hall 11 3 stars became similar to what Town Hall 10 was before Town Hall 11 came out, if not easier. But basically, this is a good buff to like Lalo, because you could use the Wall Wrecker and just bring out raged bowlers or Valkyries just in the middle of the base instead of having to deploy them on the outside and have them actually get there. This was a good addition, and then the Battle Blimp at the time was very, very underwhelming. I was retired at this point still because I took a long break from the game, so I didn't really get to play with it much myself when it was shit, but really the only purpose of the Battle Blimp was to drop a bunch of balloons in one point. But the big defensive change here is, I should probably mention that the Eagle Artillery added at 11 does a lot of damage to balloons, but usually it would lock on a Lava Hound, so it wasn't that big of an issue. It's a lot stronger comparatively now than it was then, though, so it's something you do got to worry about. But Town Hall 12 brought us the Giga Tesla, making the Town Hall a defense. And this is big because it would deal a lot of damage, much more than an Inferno Tower, multi-Inferno would. And also, upon destruction, the Giga Tesla would be a gigantic bomb that would explode and pretty much kill balloons in one hit. Which meant that either A, you would Asui the Town Hall, which is what I always do, or B, you would pop your ward ability only when you destroy the Town Hall. This made kill squad attacks slightly less viable than they were before, because back then sometimes you would use your warden with the ground portion, but now because of the Giga Tesla, you couldn't really kill it with your kill squad, so you would have to go it through the air. It was difficult at the time for sure. The third addition to the game that impacts Lava Loon that was added right at the start of Town Hall 12, aside from new levels which did come, were the addition of the new elixir troop called the Electro Dragon. This thing, I'm sure we all know it by now. It's what all the noobs and some good players like to use. It's slow as hell to attack. It's pretty damn tanky, and it takes up a lot of housing space, but it chains up to like 5 or 6 defenses, and when rage, it will, not defenses, buildings. When rage, it will kill these buildings in almost one shot every time. and its massive electro dragons is still a viable attack to this day. But people, this is really the only use of the clone spell to this day. They'd bring a battle blimp, and inside the blimp, they'd have an E-Dragon with balloons. And then when they'd send the blimp, sometimes at the Archer Queen, other times just at value. And when it pops, you'd rage and clone what's inside it. The balloons come out first, so they get cloned, and then the E-Dragon just does massive damage to the stuff nearby. It was a good way to take out a portion of the base. It was more effective at Town Hall 10 and Town Hall 11 than Town Hall 12, though, just simply because having level 8 balloons is much more effective at 10 and 11 than it is at 12, because the Town Hall 12 defenses are equipped to handle level 8 balloons, not 11 and 10. They just overrun those bases. But that pretty much was it for a while. They added a third Inferno Tower, which definitely made attacks harder, but the biggest addition during this time was the third siege machine, the Stone Slammer. I'm sure you all know, the Stone Slammer is basically a balloon on crack. It's faster, can one-shots almost every defense, target's defense is the same, it's very tanky, and it drops out troops. It's still a very good siege machine to this day. But this was a much more effective option than the Battle Blimp for lots of attacks, because you could use it to distract other defenses, which will come into play more at Town Hall 13. And also just to form pathing for your balloons to fly through the base even easier. Town Hall 12, there are two more additions to the game at Town Hall 12, one of which is the Bat Spell. The Bat Spell, again, this was right before I came back, but apparently the Bat Spell was really, really overpowered at first and used with mass Lava Hounds to kill everything, but it got nerfed quickly and did not see use with Lava Loon for a while. And then the Ice Golem was basically a mini golem that also doubled as a free spell. And this was great because you could bring it with your heroes to just get a little more value or go Sui into a single Inferno easier. But yeah, the Ice Golem's good, Bat Spell bad for Lalo. But at this point, Lava Loon is definitely easier than it was when Town Hall 11 was the max. Sorry if you can hear a lot of noise. The garbage truck it's garbage day today and it's coming through outside. But yeah, Sui Lava Loon's definitely easier than it was when Town Hall 11 or even Town Hall 10 was maxed. But it's still a really difficult attack to do, and you have to have great fundamentals to pull it off consistently. I wasn't there yet. I didn't even use it as my main attack at the time. It was something I had, but not something I was amazing at. But it was definitely a top-tier attack in the meta. But now it is time to move on to the current max Town Hall level, Town Hall 13. Let me get some water. Town Hall 13 brought so much to the game so far. Let me just go into it chronologically. So the first major, going in order of sneak peek, when the Town Hall 13 was actually dropped, there were three major changes to things that changed Lava Loon. And the first was a new defense, the Giga Inferno, which basically just replaced the Giga Tesla on the base. It did more damage, and it still hit a bomb, but this bomb would give like a little freeze effect on your troops, making them really, really slow after it exploded, even if they are protected by your Warden ability. This means still that if you loon through the Town Hall, your shit is going to be really fucking slow, even in a haste spell, after you get through it, which leaves you vulnerable to Inferno Towers, air defenses, the next thing I'm going to cover in this list, and basically it makes Sui in the Town Hall even more of a preference for me and a lot of others than it was before. But the next two were also nerfs to balloons. This is the scatter shots. I'm sure we all know about the scatter shot by now. It's arguably the second strongest defense in the game, behind the Giga Inferno. Personally, I think it is. And what it does is it shoots the boulder at air or ground targets, does splash damage, and hits the targets behind them, and it does a lot of it. 3 scatter shots can kill a balloon underneath the Warden aura, if I'm not mistaken. It does a lot. Also, balloons got there's a level 9 balloon added right at the start of Town Hall 13, but Lava Hounds did not get a new level, so that you still had to use a Town Hall 12 Lava Hounds. But scatter shots made Lava Loon very, very, very difficult, because you had to either A, freeze them whenever they locked on your balloons, or B, distract them with something like the Stone Slammer, something that newer players, and me as well, found very difficult for a while. But good players could still make their way through it. And then the third edition of Town Hall 12 to Town Hall 13 at the start was, in my opinion, the biggest double-edged sword at the time, the new hero, the Royal Champion. The Royal Champion on offense it's a game changer, dude. Because you could use it with it's basically a third hero you have to Sui, because it targets defenses and does a lot of damage, it's quick, it's tankier than an Archer Queen, and its ability will send a shield at 4 defenses. The Royal Champion's usage with Lava Loon at Town Hall 13 evolved over time as more additions came to the game, which I will cover then. But, oh yeah, there's one other change I forgot. Right when Town Hall 12 came out, the free spell got buffed. It got moved down to 1 spell space instead of 2. And this pretty much made it viable again, because you could freeze stuff again instead of healing, and also it was just what's the word? 2 spell space for like 7 seconds of freeze was not viable. Now you could get 4 or 5 seconds for just 1 space. It was a definite upgrade. But back to the topic. You'd use the Royal Champion with your heroes, often for either just getting more value or for funneling your other heroes to where you want them to go. But that sounds like a great upgrade. But remember, heroes are in defense too, and the Royal Champion targets both ground and air. Balloons only target defenses. So now you don't just have to deal with the enemy Archer Queen, you gotta deal with an enemy Royal Champion as well, plus 2 scatter shots, 3 Infernos, the Giga Inferno, the Eagle, you know what I'm saying? Basically, this made it to where Lava Loon was immensely difficult unless you were like a pro at it already. Gotta love water. Throat's getting dry. I must have Corona. Hopefully I don't. But anyway. So yeah, the Royal Champion was also a lethal balloon killer. Not quite as deadly as the Archer Queen, but still something dangerous enough to where you have to account for her. Usually that meant you would Sui at least one of the enemy heroes, as in the Champ or the Archer Queen, and then you would rage Skelly the other. You could rage and then 1 Skelly on each of them and freeze, but that doesn't always kill from my experience. Basically, it made it a lot tougher. So, Town Hall 13 is going on, and then we get to the first update during the Town Hall 13, which is an offensive buff. That's going to be a common theme for the next few updates, and that is the addition of the Super Troops. You probably all know what Super Troops do by now. You can boost 1. It replaces your current troop, but is generally much more useful. There are 4 Super Troops added to the game. There is the Super Barbarian, which is a Rage Barbarian from Builder Base. It's basically useless. Super Giant, which is like the Giant from Builder Base. Well, in terms of Lalo, it's useless. The Sneaky Goblin, a goblin that does more damage, still targets storages, and is invisible for like 5 or 6 seconds at the start. And then the Super Wall Breaker, which is basically a wall breaker that can never fail. 1 Super Wall Breaker is enough to kill a wall for your equivalent Town Hall level. And then even if it dies, it will still blow up the wall anyway. It's ridiculous. But the latter 2 were big. The Super Wall Breaker, it's pretty obvious what it did and what it brought to the game. But it basically made wall breaks a lot safer and a lot easier. You didn't have to freeze a multi-inferno anymore. You didn't have to leave enough time for the wall breakers to actually detonate, because these could just do it instantly. And it was overpowered for virtually every attack, but it was great for Lava Loon. Now, the Sneaky Goblin was also fantastic. I still think these are the 2 best Super Troops to this day. Well, most useful, let me put it that way. The Sneaky Goblin, 1 Sneaky Goblin can kill a Collector, 2 can kill a storage. Sneaky Goblin is 3 space. That is something that's great for Sui funneling because you get to use much cheaper options than like a baby dragon or a yeti or something. It's a great game changer. But there were two major additions that came with the sneaky goblin, or major tricks. The first was that since they're invisible, if you expose your clan castle, you can bring like 5 or 6 sneakies. They'll kill the clan castle without triggering what's inside of it. So you can't just place the clan castle on the outside of your base anymore. But more importantly, if you bring a blimp, 5 sneaky goblins is enough to kill the town hall if they land and they do not trigger any traps, which there were no traps by the town hall in this current base building meta. Because you had a 45 space clan castle, that meant you could bring 5 sneaky goblins and a lava hound. So people they'd bring a blimp, look for an area where there are no giant bombs possibilities. So basically when the town hall is bordering a wall, and then the 5 sneaky goblins would come out and kill the town hall, and now you have another lava hound. This made it a lot easier because A, you didn't have to sue the town hall or use your warden through it, and B, it's another lava hound for a lot more troop space. It was extremely efficient and still has some use in the meta today. Eventually this technique kind of got neutered because with the super wall breakers, the only function of the small bomb was to kill regular wall breakers, but super wall breakers have more health, so those traps are useless. People would start putting them in spring traps around the town hall, so you can't kill them with sneaky goblins anymore. But by the time people started doing this, Lavaloon got a huge addition. Now we come to the June updates, and there were 2 massive additions to the game. There are 2 new super troops, a new dark troop, and a drastic change to a essentially useless at the time spell. So let me go with the bad. The new super troops were the Inferno Dragon and the Super Witch. Super Witch, great troop, nothing to do with Lavaloon. Inferno Dragon, at the time everyone thought it sucked outside of defensive clan castles. It now has some use in offense, but generally not with Lavaloon, so we're going to forget about that. But the new dark troop was the Headhunter. It is 6 troop space. It's fast as shit, and it targets enemy heroes and does a lot of damage to them. This is big, because now you got ways to kill enemy heroes without having to sue them, or invest like 4 spell spaces into them, which is massive for Lavaloon, because it allows you more freedom to do the rest of your attack. And then the big change was the Lightning Spell. Lightning Spell was useless after like Town Hall 10, so they rebalanced it and made it 1 space, but doing a lot more damage for its space. And then and also more consistent. But what mattered was you can zap an enemy Archer Queen for 7 spell space. You can zap a Scatter Shot for 5 zaps and 1 Earthquake. Same with an Inferno or an Expo. And then the big one, you can zap the Clan Castle and the Eagle for 7 zaps and an Earthquake. So many bases had some high value stuff around the Clan Castle, plus it just created a good hole in the base for pathing, that the Zap Lalo was pretty much overpowered, and it was also a lot easier in the regular Lalo. Not just because you don't have to deal with the Clan Castle or certain defenses, but it slows the attack down. One thing that's difficult about standard Sui Lalo is how quick it is. You gotta deploy like 8 or 9 or 10 spell spaces at once, plus juggling your Warden ability, balloons, hounds, cleanup, and slammer/blimp. Something that you can definitely get used to, and I'll help you get used to it in the next few videos of this. But definitely a difficult part. The Zap Lalo slows down the attack because you do not have nearly as many spells, and that makes it a lot easier to get it done. Plus, the Headhunters, with killing the enemy heroes, you don't need to bring skeleton spells with the Zap Lalo. You just send the Headhunters in, hit them with your Warden ability, and they'll kill any Archer Queen or World Champion nearby. It's great. So, Zap Lalo, great attack, still going through, and it's about 4 months until the next update. In the middle of it, Supercell randomly adds the new Super Troop, a Super Archer, to the game. Fucking useless for Lalo. Next. And then now comes the October update. I think there were only like two changes in this entire update. Oh yeah, also with the Zap Lalo update, that's when they added another new level of Lava Hound. So it was basically a Lalo buff update, and you can argue it's the golden age of Lalo because everybody was doing Zap Lalo. It was great to see. Sui Lalo still existed, and it was much rarer, and it was still used by the more skilled players because it was far more versatile and can work on any base. But it definitely took a big backseat to the Zap Lalo. But in the October update, they added two new Super Troops, the Super Minion and the Super Valkyrie. Offensively, both of them are useless for Lalo, but defensively, the Super Minion was huge. Now, it meant that not every clan castle is a Hound and Headhunters. You could bring people would put Super Minions in the clan castle to make queen charges very, very difficult. But it's pretty easy to take care of because you can just poison and freeze. You just gotta make sure you hit the Headhunters with the freeze too, because otherwise they can fuck over your Warden. I'm gonna take 1 second to plug my computer in. Actually, fuck my computer. Anyway, so yeah, that's the October update. Also added a new army camp level, so now people would have 300 army camp space instead of 280. On paper, this doesn't really sound like a big change, but it allows you a lot more flexibility to bring more utility troops for a Sui, or just make it easier to bring 3 Lava Hounds instead of 2. So now, come the November updating the World Championships, a lot of the attacking meta has just developed on its own. Back in June when the update first came out, everybody was zapping clan castles, but now that's not quite as popular. Some people are just zapping heroes on top of scatter shots, just zapping scatter shots on their own, zapping Inferno Towers, lots of zaps. Zap Lalo of some form was huge. Zaps into a kill squad with a wall wrecker, and then the developing of the Royal Champion, 1 zap, 1 EQ trick to snipe an Inferno Tower. Just zaps were everywhere, not just with Lalo, but with every attack in the game. And then the December update came with the big zap nerf. Well, not big. There are basically two components to the nerf without changing the lightning spell itself. The first is that the clan castle is now a storage, like the town hall. You cannot zap it anymore. Good change, because removing the clan castle was pretty stupid. And then also, scatter shots and expos get more health, to where it now takes 6 zaps instead of 5, which makes it more difficult because you have less spells to do the rest of your army with. And then, with this update, while this update may sound like it hurt Zap Lalo and would force people back to the regular Sui Lalo, that's not quite the case, because of the new additions to the game at the time. Just making sure I'm not forgetting anything. So, this update brought a new siege machine, a new spell, and then 2 new super troops. The new siege machine was the log launcher. I'm not sure how to describe it, other than like if you were to combine the wall wrecker and the siege barracks. Oh yeah, the siege barracks is useless with Lalo, by the way. Combine the wall wrecker and the siege barracks, and then you make it range. That's the log launcher. It targets a town hall. It's a ground siege machine, and it shoots logs out for a while, and it dies on its own. With Lavaloon, it has been seeing some use with kill squad Lavaloon type attacks. It's similar to Sui's, but it's a much bigger Sui, and something that I personally have not experimented a whole lot with, but it's definitely viable is what I'm saying. But it was overshadowed by the other additions to the update. There are 2 new super troops, the Super Wizard and the Ice Lava Hound. The Super Wizard is like a ground E-Dragon, and the Ice Hound is exactly what it sounds like. It's a slightly tankier Lava Hound that has a chilling effect when it damages defenses, similar to how the Ice Golem goes, and then it's like a freeze spell when it pops. And then, oh yeah, also starting now you can bring two super troops at once. Usually with Lavaloon, the common combinations are Wallbreaker and Goblin and Icehound, or Wallbreaker and Icehound. Those are in friendly wars. In regular wars, it's either Goblin and Wallbreaker or Wallbreaker and Icehound. It's really up to preference. I will explain more on that in a later episode of the series. But the Icehound was beginning to be used in conjunction with regular Lava Hounds because it takes up a lot of space, especially if you bring up more, but it was good to have one or two of them because a lot of air defenses would be by high damage structures that would be good to freeze, such as a Town Hall, Scattershot, even an Inferno or an Eagle, stuff like that. But the Super Wizard wound up having the bigger impact because of the new spell, the Invisibility spell. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's one spell space, you drop it and it makes everything within its radius invisible for about 4 or 4.5 seconds. And I mean everything. Offense, shit, defense, shit, everything. Now, the invisibility spell is probably the most creative spell in the game in terms of its possibilities. I really only use it these days just to make my Royal Champion survive through a single Inferno Tower easier, which is definitely a good thing to do. But some people who are more creative than I use it to remove defenses and then do crazy ass snipes, or Sui a Town Hall of just a Royal Champion with an invisible spell and an earthquake spell. Lots of crazy stuff is what I'm saying. But the most popular use of the invisibility spell is with what was now known as the Blizzard. You'd bring a blimp, and inside the blimp, you would have 5 trash troops and 4 super wizards. Then you'd make them invisible and rage them, and they would take out an absolutely massive chunk of the base. Enter Blizzard Lalo. You could do that, and then with your heroes, you could get a Sui up to 50 or 60% of the base. Ridiculous. Basically, for the casual player base, Blizzard Lalo replaced Zap Lalo. It's a much different attack conceptually, but it's still a Lalo with a spell that existed a lot. And since its inception, introduction, the Blizzard has been nerfed a little bit in terms of the Super Wizard doesn't do quite as much chain damage as it used to, and it also will die to a giant bomb plus a small bomb, but essentially nothing has changed. Blizzard Lalo is still very good and will be covered in one of the episodes going through. So with that, where does it leave Lalo today? Well, there are 3 in terms of the Sui style attacks. There are 3 variation of spells-ish. There's old school Sui, always have been good, always will be good, which is what I use and what the first couple episodes will be focused on because that's to develop the fundamentals. Still very good and has seen a bit of a resurgence lately. There's Zap Lalo, which is still, despite not being able to zap a clan castle anymore, Zap Lalo is still underrated and very good because you can just zap scatter shots, do Royal Champion tricks, zap heroes. It's a good thing to have. And then lastly, there's Blizzard Lalo, which functions a lot differently than the other 2, but is still very effective. And then there's the other variants, such as the Kill Squad with the Wall Wrecker or Log Launcher, Queen Walk. I might cover Kill Squad, but I'm not covering Queen Walk. But to this day, Lava Loon is still a difficult attack, but one that is very good to master. Because if you can get your Loon fundamentals down, you can use any of the 3 variants mentioned above, because they can work on pretty much every base if you can just pick the right option. So yeah, thank you all for watching. This video ran a lot longer than I thought it would, but I hope you all learned something, which other than to drink lots of water, which is a good thing to do. But with that, yeah, hopefully I'll have the next part, which will be how to Sui, within the next couple weeks or so. And with that, have a good day, y'all. T-Quay out.